This is the Behind the Line podcast, and this is Pacific Northwest headline news for Friday, May 13th, 2022. Well, you've probably never heard of a little city called Centralia, which lies halfway between Seattle and Portland, Oregon. But an Australian green energy company is evaluating the feasibility of converting the coal-fired power plant in Centralia into a green hydrogen production facility after the coal plant closes in 2025. Fortescue Future Industries, FFI, based in East Perth, Western Australia, announced today that it has entered into an agreement with Centralia's industrial park at TransAlta to study the possible conversion of the plant to the 4,400-acre IPAT. FFI would seek to employ the existing coal plant workforce for the proposed project, which would become a Pacific Northwest green hydrogen hub, potentially generating hundreds of jobs, according to a news release. Green hydrogen is a zero-carbon, zero-methane fuel that does not require the burning of fossil fuels in the production process, the release said. According to FFI's website, green hydrogen can be produced through electrolysis, where electricity from renewable sources such as solar, wind, hydropower, or geothermal is run through the demineralized water to split the water into green hydrogen and oxygen. The oxygen is released back into the atmosphere, and the green hydrogen used to power hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles like trucks, create synthetic aviation fuels made into green ammonia to fuel shipping and rail, and more, the website says. FFI's goal is to turn North America into a leading global green energy heartland and create thousands of green jobs now and more in the future. And this would be the first plant of its kind in the state of Washington. This would be a boom for this town. Washington State's ferry system continues to struggle amid staffing shortages, and I wonder why they have staffing shortages. Ongoing struggles from Washington State ferries are plaguing the system as continuous delays frustrate passengers. These delays stem from staffing shortages. On Friday, today, 2 routes are running on alternate schedules to provide more reliability. Citing a rising number of COVID cases, Washington State Ferries tweeted that reliability may temporarily decrease in the weeks ahead due to rising relief requests among crews. The pandemic created serious crewing issues for state ferries, from illnesses, retirements, and the inability to hire and train people amid strict social distancing guidelines. Well, they failed to mention the vaccine mandate that our dumbass governor put into place as well, not thinking about how difficult it is to train somebody to drive a ferry. The system announced 14 new hires at the end of April, but Washington State Ferries still needs to hire more than 36 new workers to reach its target workforce. 36 people. It's not a quick hire process either. The Maritime Apprenticeship Program combines about 6 months of classroom, lab, and simulation training with 1 year of service on board a ferry. The starting salary for a deckhand is $23 an hour. According to the State Ferries job site, there are 106 openings listed across all departments. But, the governor promised there'd be no interruptions in service because of his vaccine mandates. Clearly, like mostly everything else he says, he has no clue what he's talking about. These jobs, like law enforcement and the fire department, require months and months and months of training to get somebody out in the workforce. You can't just can these people and expect to hire somebody off the street to fill the shoes. But Corky, the governor, just lives in his own little world, doesn't he? The city of Portland, Oregon, has settled with a group of individuals who sued over the way the city conducts homeless sweeps. The class action lawsuit filed nearly a year ago alleged city contractors were illegally discarding the personal belongings of people living outdoors while dispersing homeless encampments. Plaintiffs said the city failed to properly document property that was removed and failed to give people a reasonable opportunity to retrieve their belongings. As part of the new campsite removal campsite, it's not camping. As part of the new removal process, the city will deprioritize dispersing what it considers low-impact campsites. That includes campsites that aren't near schools, child facilities, or parks, and that are outside of flood and wildfire hazards. The city will prioritize removal and high-impact campsites, including those with the areas named before. It also includes sites with confirmed criminal activity or excessive amounts of uncontained debris. Under the new rules, the city will provide a 72-hour notice before dispersing an encampment. The notice will include specific details about the area being cleaned up, along with instructions on where removed property will be available for retrieval. During cleanup, city agents will give people in the encampments at least an hour before removing any personal property, and the city is required to maintain a database of all personal property removed from the site. The city has agreed to store all personal property for no less than 30 days. Prescription drugs found to be in the correct bottles will be stored until they expire, and IDs, credit cards, and money will be stored for no less than a year. Anything found to be unsanitary of no apparent value or utility will be discarded. The city has also agreed not to disperse any encampments during severe winter weather or periods of excessive heat. And all agents performing campsite removal will be trained annually in crisis intervention. Give me a break. This is going to cost the city millions of dollars, and it's just more and more rights for these people to set up shop wherever they feel like it and feel like they can not be touched or moved. These cities that have a homeless problem should have a designated area for these people to set up their camps and nowhere else. They should not be able to just pick a spot in the city or in a neighborhood or anywhere else other than a designated location by city government. And all you people on the streets are adults and should be responsible for your own crap. It's not the city's responsibility to babysit you and put your stuff away and hold it for you till you come get it. And it's not the taxpayers' burden to pay for all of that stuff to be stored. If you've ever walked by one of these homeless encampments, they have got a ton of stuff, and it usually looks like a giant garbage dump. And now on to the loonies in California. I reported earlier this week that they were voting on a desalination plant in Southern California, the Huntington Beach area, which California desperately needs water. They are having a very, very severe drought, and they are having to cut back on water usage. Personally, I believe that water is going to be rationed in California at some point soon, but the state's Coastal Commission voted unanimously to deny a permit for Poseidon Water to build a plant to produce 50 million gallons of water a day in Huntington Beach, southeast of Los Angeles. The vote came after a heated meeting before the commission attended by dozens of supporters and critics of the plan. It was considered a crucial decision on the future of the plant after years of other hearings and delays. The ocean is under attack from climate change already, Commissioner Dana Bacho said. I cannot say in good conscience that this amount of damage is okay. Other critics said the water would be too expensive and it wasn't urgently needed in the area where it would be built. Really? Which is less dependent on state and federal water due to an ample aquifer and water recycling program. Well, California just, nobody should feel sorry for them when they run out of water and they're all crying for it when they've got a whole ocean of water right there that they could have easily drew water from, but they're more concerned about fish and birds, that somehow this plant is going to affect fish and birds, and I think that the science behind that is actually flawed. California has a budget surplus of $97 billion, but do you think that's going to stop them from raising your taxes, especially on gas? It's not. But Governor Gavin Newsom on Thursday announced a proposed $18.1 billion spending package to help Californians with rising inflation. The centerpiece of the proposal is $11.5 billion in tax refunds. This includes sending $400 checks to every eligible registered vehicle owner, capped at 2 checks per person, $800. Well, if you drive a lot, that's not going to help you with the gas prices, the high grocery prices, and everything else going on right now. This inflation relief package will help offset the higher costs that Californians are facing right now and provide support to those still recovering from the pandemic, said Newsom. Unlikely. Newsom also announced the expectation of the state's minimum wage to increase to $15.50 per hour. Again, the prices in California, $15.50 isn't doing anything for you. He also announced a $125 million spending package focusing on expanding reproductive health care. That's about abortion. The spending plan was a direct response to the leaked U.S. Supreme Court draft opinion suggesting that the 1973 landmark Roe v. Wade ruling will be overturned. Government is too big and spending too much money in every single state. They're all taxing us into the ground so they can fill their coffers for all their little pet projects. This has been Pacific Northwest Headline News. For more, visit BehindTheLinePodcast.com. Thanks for listening.